Unmodded Kerbal Space Program isn't the most graphically intense game out there at the moment, but this decade-old game is a great way to have fun whilst learning something new, without the need for a supercomputer to run it. So how does Kerbal Space Program stand the test of time, and is it worth a look at? I'm Forrester, and in this video we'll explore the ins and outs of these adorable green astronauts, whilst reviewing the game and its relevance in 2022. In case you're not aware, Kerbal Space Program is a game where you design your own space rockets or planes and then send them out into the cosmos. There's a sandbox mode where you set your own goals, or career and science modes which encourage you to think about the crafts you design in order to achieve a specific mission objective for each launch. You can recreate iconic historic missions from the past, reimagine them with your own spacecraft, or go off and do your own thing entirely. I'd like to say it's not rocket science, but in its own simplistic way, it kind of is. In terms of designing and constructing your spacecraft, there are a lot of options, ranging from unmanned probes and satellites, all the way up to fully manned rockets, space shuttles and landers. You add each component yourself, and learn about concepts such as thrust-to-weight ratio, delta-V, engine performance in and out of atmospheres, and staging. There are so many parts to customize your spacecraft that building each launch is highly satisfying. Often, much as realistic space companies might, I find myself developing a launch vehicle which can be reused for different payloads which are more mission specific. The little green Kerbals are an adorable way to make the experience personable too. Not so precious as real people if things go slightly wrong, but bringing humorous expressions to each launch and giving a purpose to trying to get each Kerbal home safely at the end of each mission. With the minor exception of the technology tree and funding in science and career modes, most of the challenge in the game is based on your own knowledge and skill. Once you understand how to do something, it's seemingly straightforward, but often the learning curve to get there is significant. For example, with 1,000 hours in game, I really don't have to think too hard about getting to orbit, but I still remember how much of a milestone it was first figuring out how to achieve orbit. That sense of achievement for key milestones, like reaching orbit, docking spacecraft, landing on the moon, or setting up a satellite network, is just immense. And the learning value of that is huge too. Purely through Kerbal Space Program, many people develop a much deeper understanding of spaceflight, rudimentary orbital mechanics, or even the dangers posed by space debris. Personally, I know that when I watch a SpaceX launch, I'm much more comfortable with many of the terms being described. Naturally, Kerbal Space Program is a simplification of many of those concepts, with infinitely more variables in a real flight, but nonetheless, just to learn those basic principles makes it a great learning experience. Not to mention those friendly little green Kerbals make that experience just as accessible for lots of different age groups. By the way, if you're a fan of the learning experiences, you might like to get subscribed to the channel, as you can be sure of coverage of the upcoming Kerbal Space Program 2. Whilst there are a couple of add-on DLC modules which in particular replicate specific periods of history or focus on science and robotics, Kerbal Space Program is also well known for an absolute plethora of user-developed mods available. If you can think of it, there's a good chance that there's a mod for it. Graphics mods, realism mods, spacecraft component mods, even a somewhat passable multiplayer mod. All in all, there is a huge amount of replayability to the game, owing to the fact that you are constantly designing and iterating on spacecraft, and then running the missions themselves. Even something like building a space station might involve multiple space shuttle style launches. And the learning opportunities can't be understated. There's support for different hardware if you wanted to fly with a joystick or controller, but it's entirely playable with a mouse and keyboard. There's a sense of progression, especially in the career modes, where you build on your knowledge or game infrastructure during each launch. And the interplay between the craft you design and the mission is really satisfying too, as you learn how to do different things with the various pieces of space hardware. And as the game is, at this point, fairly dated, it's also one that if you keep an eye on the Steam store, you can often pick up at a bargain price. And if you can do that, I definitely recommend it. Given that many of you probably have experience of KSP, I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. And naturally, that like or dislike button helps me to know what you'd like to see more of. Otherwise, as always, thank you for watching.